Hi guys, welcome back to 30 Days to Your First Website Design, a Tuts Plus premium course. I'm Ian Yates, and today we're going to get visual and talk about style and theme. Let's begin as always by taking a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. Well, we'll start off by defining exactly what we mean by style. Then we're going to look at quite a few examples before we finish off with a note about trends and longevity. And as always, before we jump into the next video, I'll set you a little assignment. Now, you're probably bored of me saying this, but we're back to decision making. Selecting your theme or style is just another choice along the long road of web design. But what do we mean by style and theme? Well, we're referring to visual presence. And it's most simple. We could categorize web styles into dark and light, for example. I'm sure you can think of a light website and a dark website off the top of your head right now. We can obviously refine things much further than that. We can categorize styles such as grunge, a grubby, dirty appearance with irregularly positioned and aligned objects, scruffy typography, and often dark and moody. To counter grunge, there's always clean, typically airier than grunge, clearly grid-based and regular, certainly more calming. Then, minimalist websites take clean one step further, stripping away all but the bare essentials. The primary goal, remember we spoke about them, of any minimalist site is usually communicated very clearly. Now, one of my current favourite styles is vintage modernism, which, funnily enough, draws inspiration from both grunge and minimalism, plus some Art Deco and 20th century graphic design thrown in for good measure. Vintage modernism is usually very rich and textured, featuring elaborate typography and fine details. As I suggested in our video about inspiration, you can check out Dribbble for examples. It's overflowing with vintage modernism at the moment. Then this example, by Ethan Marcotte, is actually intended to demonstrate what's known as responsive layouts, but it serves just as well for the purposes of this style example. Anyway, you get the point about style. There are tons of styles to play with, and you can even define them for yourself if you're dead clever. In deciding upon a style for your website, you're communicating with your targeted users. But what are you actually doing? Well, the point of style is in essence threefold. And it's most simple, it sets the mood. It can give brands an air of sophistication, organizations a sense of trust, events an element of fun. Secondly, it allows a user to relate with what he or she is experiencing. Familiar elements will help them feel at ease with the website. Then lastly, style helps the design stand out due to uniqueness, and hopefully therefore remain memorable. Now let's break style down a little further, just so we know what we're dealing with. After all, we're going to have to decide upon our own style for the corporate website we're designing. So how do we control the style of our design? Well, we do it with the component elements such as color, texture, typography, imagery, and layout. Color, as we've already touched upon with light and dark, is an easy way to trigger an emotive response from the user. It can be manipulated by means of complementation, contrast, and vibrancy. Experiment with color services such as Cooler from Adobe. Pay attention to how different color schemes make you feel. Color also plays a vital role in practical terms, text legibility and leading of the eye, but we'll talk about that further down the line. Now, before we wrap up this video, I want to quickly touch upon one final point, and that is longevity. Trends, such as vintage modernism, which we talked about, come and go, so it's worthwhile considering the shelf life of your website. Take the Envato bundles, for example. There have been a few. There was the Flash bundle, we had the Mac app bundle, and the WordPress bundle, just to name a few. The Envato design team do a great job of pulling these together. They're atmospheric, striking, and they're always right up there with current design trends. But what happens when the trends move on? These pages are going to look outdated. Well, in this case, that doesn't matter. Bundle pages have a tiny shelf life. Once they're done, they're done. They exist to gain maximum impact in the short term. Other sites, however, such as news blogs, are in it for the long haul. Their designs tend to be more sympathetic to longevity. That said, in web design, it's not the end of the world when trends do change. Websites are flexible, nothing's set in stone, so they can obviously be updated if needed. Okay, it's time for some further reading. Firstly, I'd like you to read Brandon Moore's article on vintage modernism, Why? Well, because as I mentioned, I like it as a style, so read up on it. Secondly, a brilliant article on colour theory over on, you guessed it, Web Design Tuts. Thomas Cannon covers all you need to know. And before we jump into the next video, as you'll have been expecting, I have a little assignment for you. Keep in mind our corporate web design and ask yourself what kind of style it should follow. Think about who our users will be and therefore what kind of colours and textures, typography would suit their tastes most. Okay, that's it for now. Once again, you've been watching 30 Days to Your First Website Design. In our next video, we're going to take a look at conceptual sketching. I'm Ian Yates, and from all of us at Tuts Plus, thanks again for tuning in.